Is that Buffalo Bill up there?
I don't know if that's Hickok.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
think that's him, but that's from his show.
Wow.
Buffalo
I'm sorry, what were
Bill.
you going to say? We're not that far removed?
Oh, no, I was just saying, like, we now think we've gotten to such a weird spot. But, yeah, you want to point out that people must have been a tad more forgiving at the time.
Well, there must have been much more used to death and murder.
Yeah.
Because it was so common. And it was so personal. Because, you're doing it with hatchets and axes and guns that don't fire very well, so you're doing it at close range. You're shooting people with muskets from...
And there was so much more violence then.
Yeah.
And so much more death.
Yeah.
The fact that you can grow up and be so old now and never see a dead person is like just a new idea.
It is pretty crazy.
I got people my age that never seen a dead guy.
Yeah. Well, it's a real eye-opener when you see one. There's a lot of people that haven't even seen a dead animal.
Dude, I could sit and rattle off the dead people I've seen. It's
How many
burned
people
in my
have you seen?
mind. How many dead people have I seen?
Yeah.
Not 10.
What have you seen dead people from?
I saw 2 people that were not just dead, but in bits after a plane crash. I saw...
Whoa, where was that?
Fucking not even a mile from my house.
Holy
when I was a little kid.
shit.
Yeah. And then
Commercial plane or like one of those little private
there's a
suckers?
57-year-old man and a 13-year-old kid.
Ooh.
I tried recently briefly to go back and find the article, but the way here's how the story went down is the way I remember it, a detail that I remember very clearly is that this guy, it was his neighbor kid, and he had told this kid's parents they were going down to wash the airplane and look at the airplane, and he decided to take the kid up for a flight. I don't know if that's true or not. I was trying to find that article to confirm that aspect of it, but I lived on a lake called Middle Lake, and everybody remembers this. For whatever reason, this guy buzzed our lake a couple times really low. There was a guy down on the east end of the lake named Mr. Rupert, and I remember what was unusual about Mr. Rupert was he would eat freshwater clams, which we were forbidden from doing by our dad. But
Why is that?
It's just not. People don't regard it as a good practice at all to eat freshwater clams because of toxins. I don't. That's another thing I haven't really looked into why that doesn't happen. But people just generally don't eat freshwater clams. But we would go get them and clean them, and I remember we cleaned a whole shitload once. And my dad's like, no. But Mr. Rupert would eat these freshwater clams, and
Would he go raw or would he cook them?
I'm sure he would cook them. He said, "Man, I saw that plane." When it dove down over the lake, it went up, but then dove down again and never came back up. And he even told some neighbors this. The next day when we wake up, the sheriff's posse, our area had a bunch of volunteers who had horses. And they were like the mounted sheriff's posse, right? Like deputized individuals during emergencies such as this. They were all loading up their horses to head out into the woods to look for some plane. And another detail that was told to me that I wanted to verify that I just need to go back and go through the microfiche where I grew up and find the article, because it was something like it had a signal on it, and the signal was picked up by some other country even. But they knew that a plane had gone down. And that was a matter of fact. Everyone at this point knew that this plane had gone down. And we were riding around on our bikes out in the woods, just kind of following these sheriff's posse guys as they were sort of combing through the woods. And eventually a news helicopter was hovering over a spot like right at where the end of White Lake Drive. And there was a news helicopter hovering over there. My 2 brothers went directly there on their bikes, and I was younger. And for some reason I went and got my mom, and then we drove over, and we got to the end of White Lake Road where you had to walk into the woods. And there was a guy there that tried to block my mom and me from going in there. And I always remember he said, if you're going to go in there, you better have a strong stomach. And she's like, well, my kids are in there. And so we go in there, and Matt and Danny are just standing at the edge of the hole there. And they're trying to sort out. They're trying to sort out who was who inside this plane.
Wow.
Into bags. I'm not shitting you, man. Like, and yeah, I have like some visual details I remember from that, just like, yeah. And then it's kind of macabre, but yeah, I like, and then that was, and then I remember we were at our neighbor, Mrs. Musselman, I remember we were at her birthday party and the caterer just fell over dead in front of everybody. So like stuff
Those
like
are
that.
very non-war related things, right? That's
No.
what's interesting. Is
But
most
yeah, I'm just
people-
saying, like, but you can see that either these are just like happen chance things. But
Right.
yeah, you can go through life. We just have it sort of set up now, where you can be hidden from it. But then you talk to previous generations, it was just a part of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, my old man talked about walking. He grew up in Chicago. He talked about walking out of a party one time. There's a dead guy at the bottom of the stairs that had been beaten to death. Just like then went off to World War II and saw who knows what. So yeah, when people talk about how now we're so violent and shit, there's nothing to support that.
Nothing. No, it's the safest time to live ever.
You used to be able to hang people from trees and not get in trouble for it if they were the right color.
Yeah. Not that long ago.
No.
That's what's crazy about this Wild Bill Hickok shit. We're talking about what, 1870, 1880? When was it?
And what's funny is he was one of the combatants. So some of those guys, like Wild Bill Cody and Wild Bill Hickok actually had like a dispute over who got to have the name, Bill. Buffalo Bill Cody, Wild Bill Hickok. There's some other Wild Bills, I guess, and it was like a popular name, right? But they were combatants too, so they engaged in these wars. And the fact that you would later get both sides of the war, it'd be like if you went and got a bunch of Germans who were defending the Normandy beach, Omaha Beach, and you got a bunch of the Americans who were storming Omaha Beach, and you had a traveling road show in which they would pretend to inflict mass casualties on one another for paying adoring crowds.
How bizarre. Who came up with the idea for that?
I don't know,
Had
man.
that been done ever in history before?
I don't know. My guess would be, there's a thing that I've told people a bunch of times. No one ever believes me that it's true, but it's fucking true. It's true. There was a guy one time, Niagara Falls, right? You been to Niagara Falls?
No.
Big damn waterfall. The St. Lawrence drains the Great Lakes, and on its way out to the Atlantic, there's a big ass waterfall in Niagara Falls. A guy one time there was like a zoo was liquidating its holdings, and a man bought the zoo and bought a barge and put all of the zoo animals on the barge and charged $1 to watch him send his barge full of animals over the falls. Yeah. Wow. So